A hair reveal. What's up, y'all? So yesterday I streamed my reaction to the Russell Westbrook news on Twitch. I don't know if this is something I'll regularly do, but I do know I am planning to regularly stream, especially with 2K coming out. So go ahead and follow me on Twitch at BSouls. But let's get this video underway. Let's get into it, man. Russell Westbrook wants out of the Houston Rockets. He wants out of Houston. It's very interesting. There's a lot of layers to this news. Where he should go. What's the verdict with the Houston Rockets? The best destinations for Westbrook. There's also been some Harden rumors as well. And then there's also the discussion of, you know, in retrospect, how did that Chris Paul trade actually pan? Now, there's a lot of layers to just him announcing that he wants to leave the Rockets, but I think this all started as soon as Mike D'Antoni left. As soon as Mike D'Antoni and Daryl Morey left, I knew for a fact that the future for the Houston Rockets was rough because I knew this was a team built on culture. What is the Houston Rockets without Mike D'Antoni and James Harden and small ball and all the crazy trades that they do? It's a whole different franchise without those three. You get rid of two of them in a matter of 2 months, things are going to change drastically. When you bring guys over to fit exactly for Mike D'Antoni's system, for James Harden's play, and then you get rid of it, things are going to change either for the good or for the bad, but they're going to change drastically when you make these type of moves. Yeah, this is the news from Bleacher Report. But that's just crazy because when the Rockets traded for Westbrook, the outlook on this whole thing was so different. Number one, everyone was just happy that the Houston Rockets got rid of Chris Paul's terrible contract, even though they got a terrible contract in return. But the whole idea was, you know, at least it's a terrible contract with chemistry. You know what I'm saying? At least James Harden and Russell Westbrook have that chemistry. But it turns out you can have that chemistry, but if their play styles don't match, how much is that chemistry really going to take you? And what we saw last year was that they just weren't a good fit, even though I bet they're great friends off the court. You know what I'm saying? I don't doubt that aspect of things at all. At the end of the day, you got two guys who operate primarily and operate the best when they are the primary ball handler. You're misutilizing James Harden if you're going to use him in a Bradley Beal, not even Devin Booker, but a Klay Thompson role. And the same for Russell Westbrook. If you try to use him like he's Ray Allen, that's just not going to work. And especially with James Harden, this is a player that thrives on spacing. When you bring a player like Russell Westbrook, who's arguably the worst three-point shooter of all time in terms of volume, that's a nightmare. Just in general, the trades OKC made. Let's talk about the trades OKC made. The outlook on those trades a year later is so different. Because when PG was traded, a lot of people thought that the Thunder got robbed. If anything, they didn't look at the draft picks they acquired. They just looked at, they got Danilo Gallinari and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander for Paul George. But when you look back, the amount of picks that the Clippers gave up for Paul George and the amount OKC got in return for that guy is absolutely insane. Real quick breakdown. We got Shams tweeting on Twitter that Russell Westbrook wants to leave the Houston Rockets. Okay, cool. But then we got this tweet. Oh, Jesus Christ. Y'all don't even see it. Y'all don't even see it. We got this tweet right here from NBA Central, who got it from Clutch NBA 5R. The source is kind of iffy. They said that James Harden reportedly has Miami, Brooklyn, and Philly on his wish list if he were to request a trade from Houston. Now, keep in mind, when this is said, this means that this only applies if he were to request a trade from Houston. This does not mean that James Harden is requesting a trade from Houston. But I do think what this says is that James Harden is aware of the situation, that he already saw Daryl Morey leaving, he already saw Mike D'Antoni leaving, and he knew that there's a chance that this franchise might blow it up, and there's a chance that Russell Westbrook might, want to trade. So I think what James Harden was saying with this tweet is that, all right, man, we lost Mike D'Antoni, we lost Daryl Morey. If Westbrook asked for a trade, then I gotta be prepared. You know what I'm saying? I gotta have a backup plan. Miami, Brooklyn, and Philly. So the timeline goes, at least for me, I saw this tweet, and then I saw the Shams tweet, and then I saw this tweet right here where James Harden said that he's committed to the Houston Rockets and is locked in for the season. Now I'm calling cap on this, or at least in the sense that, he might do this for 1 year. But in terms of the long term, I think this is a bad time, at least for Houston Rockets fans who want James Harden to stay on this team. I think the choices that James Harden made, I like them. I'm not gonna lie, I tweeted this out earlier. If the Miami Heat can keep Jimmy Butler, keep Bam Adebayo, and then have James Harden on that team, I think that makes them the favorite to come out of the East. Before we get into the teams that are interesting trade destinations for Westbrook, let's get into this tweet. Because again, let's just read the tweet. Russell Westbrook has informed team officials that he has been uneasy about the team's accountability and has a desire to return to his prior floor general role in Oklahoma City. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I think most of the people that reacted to this tweet was looking at this part of the tweet right away, and rightfully so, because I feel like this part of the tweet says, it kind of confirms what everyone has been saying about Russell Westbrook, is that this is a guy that can't be the second option on a team. I guess you can say it's because he's selfish, or at least his play style is selfish, but he's just a player that's best utilized as a first option. I think he's similar in Allen Iverson in that sense. Allen Iverson is a player that's best utilized as a first option in terms of how he plays the game, how he approaches the game, and just his play style in general. But I feel like as a second option, there are a lot of players in history that I would have over Allen Iverson. If I'm just keeping it a buck, plug, as a second option, I would much rather have Klay Thompson on my team than Allen Iverson. And the same goes with Russell Westbrook. And that I just think that's the nature of his play style, and he knows, at least this is, in my opinion, this is an example of self-awareness on his part, that he knows that he's best utilized as a first option, and him being beside a guy like James Harden is just not gonna work. It's just not gonna work. But in that same token, I think he needs to realize that if that is his play style, he's not gonna be winning anytime soon. He's not gonna be winning anytime soon. Because if you're a player who's best utilized as a first option, cool. But now the question is, how effective are you as the first option of a team? And Russell Westbrook is a guy who's a high usage player, who commits a lot of turnovers a game, who is one of the most inefficient players in NBA history. And when you have him as your first option, I don't know how that's going to work. This confirms a lot of things that everyone has been saying about Russell Westbrook. But the first half of this tweet says Russell Westbrook has informed team officials that he has been uneasy about the team's accountability and culture. I actually agree with Russell Westbrook, because one of my criticisms about the Houston Rockets franchise is the fact that they let a lot of things go. If you watch Mike D'Antoni interviews, a lot of the times they would lose a game and he would just toss it up to, we weren't making our shots. You know, it is what it is. Every single year, they're a 50-win team in the West, and they commit to their strengths, and they have done some things to fix their weaknesses, that being adding Russell Westbrook, adding Chris Paul. But I feel like in terms of addressing their real weaknesses, most of the time they just toss it up to they were just missing shots. Like, when it comes to it, it's more than just missing shots with this team. If they kept Mike D'Antoni, that whole cycle would have just kept on going. So I honestly get getting rid of Mike D'Antoni. And look, once you get rid of Mike D'Antoni, you know for a fact that you're going into a culture change. So I get even getting rid of Daryl Morey. But in that sense, I also get trying to trade James Harden. You lost a majority of your culture. Might as well go all in with it. But I feel like, look, as much as we're overacting right now, I do think as a community, I think we have to give the Houston Rockets the benefit of the doubt before just proclaiming that they're going to be trash next season. They very well might be. But as we've seen with the Oklahoma City Thunder, depending on what they get in return and how those players commit to whatever their goal is and commit to proving people wrong, they could be better than what we think. And it's easy to look at a franchise that has the potential of losing 2 top 15, top 20 players in one offseason and say they're going to be trash. But again, that happened with the Oklahoma City Thunder, and they came back and almost beat the Houston Rockets. So I just want to give them a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. I want to see how they go from here. But as I've said before, they're the epitome of a team that commits to extremes in the NBA. And I feel like if they're not gunning it all to go for the title, I feel like the right move for them would be, or you know, what's on brand with them would be to go all the way with rebuilding. The one thing I respect about the Houston Rockets is this is not a franchise that things. If they're gonna go all in, they're gonna go all in. But if they're gonna go all out, what it seems like they are, they're gonna go all out. I respect that about this franchise. But now let's get into the different trade destinations for Russell Westbrook. This has been the one that I've been seeing a lot. This is the one that I've been seeing a lot. Russell Westbrook to the New York Knicks. Side note, they don't even got the number on him. That's crazy. Shout out to Clutch Points. But I'm gonna be honest. I kind of like this destination, bro. I'm not gonna lie, bro. I kind of like the New York Knicks. Because like we said earlier, I think Russell Westbrook is a guy that's best utilized as a first option. If you put him as a second option on a championship team, I don't even think he's that. Like, that's crazy to say, but I don't think Russell Westbrook is a second option on a championship team. But I do think Russell Westbrook is one of the best floor raisers in the league. I feel like if you want a guy to carry your franchise, carry a bunch of scrubs, Russell Westbrook is equipped to do that. And when you put him on the New York Knicks, you're asking about a team that just wants to set a culture in place. You're asking about a team that just wants to make the playoffs and show some progress to their fans. At least you would hope. And I feel like if they acquire Russell Westbrook, that is a step in the right direction for them, even though short term, even long term, Russell Westbrook might be a bad contract for them. But I feel like in terms of setting the culture for that team, Russell Westbrook would be perfect. He would add a lot of grit and grind to that team. Russell Westbrook is show business. He's box office. And if Russell Westbrook is on the Knicks, I would watch more Knicks games. So in terms of even if you think the Knicks are a franchise that just cares about the money, then Russell Westbrook does have incentive for that franchise. Now the question is, what would they give in return to the Houston Rockets? Now I don't know. I'm not a big trade machine guy. Most of the time I try to do the trade machine and I just don't know how cap works, so I try to stay away from trade rumors and just trade videos in general. But I feel like if the New York Knicks can pull that off in terms of fit and culture, look, if Russell Westbrook can lead you to 6-7 seeds in the next 2 years, that is a worth it trade for you guys, in my opinion. Jellyfam just said, look at Chris Paul's impact on Shai. I feel like in a sense, Russell Westbrook can do the same thing for the New York Knicks and his effect on Dennis Smith. Who knows? Maybe Russell Westbrook can be that mentor that Dennis Smith Jr. needs, or Frank Ntilikina needs. Let's see what else. Let's see what else is the chat. The chat is saying Russ to the Magic, Russ to the Wolves, Russ to the Bucks, Russ to the Pistons. So I think the consensus, at least with what I'm seeing, is that we all agree that Russell Westbrook, he just belongs on a trash team. He just belongs on a trash team, bro. He belongs on. I think most people know that he's just best utilized as a first option. And I think Russell Westbrook knows that as well. I mean, at least he knows it. The Milwaukee Bucks have been brought up a lot with Russell Westbrook. And if I'm the Milwaukee Bucks, if Chris Paul is on the table, I'm taking Chris Paul 10 times out of 10. But even if Russell Westbrook is on the table, I'm not gonna lie, I'd rather have the team that they have right now than add Russell Westbrook on that team and give up Eric Bledsoe and a couple of their bench pieces. Like, that's a tough pill to swallow, and I know you guys are trying to surround Giannis with a star so he can stay. But look, if y'all go into next year and you guys add Russell Westbrook and you guys are a second round exit again, then that says more about this team than it does right now. The whole Bucks thing, I don't get that. The only reason people are bringing it up is because the Bucks need a point guard and they need a star to convince Giannis to stay. But I don't think Russell Westbrook is A, the point guard that they actually need, and B, is a star that's gonna make Giannis stay. I don't think he's that guy. Appreciate y'all for coming out, man. Peace out, y'all. Peace out.